Hello, Firefang92 here to bring you another news of the week. We got a lot of heavy hitters introduced this week, so hey, let's jump into it. First up, we have Chrono Dragon Next Stage. I don't actually know where the image came from, so there's a possibility it's not legit, but it looks good enough that I'm gonna trust it. And I was expecting an effect like this, so hey, might as well go with my gut. So what he does is G-Break 2 as a G unit, Counterblast 1, flip up a copy of himself, and discard 3. You can activate it at the end of a battle he attacked a Vanguard, and then if you do, put him back in your G-Zone, choose one of your hearts named Chronojet, and stand it. So effectively what we have here is a restander with Glory on the second attack. And that's a really terrific finishing move, because if your opponent's at like 4 damage or more, you just go, hey, 26, hey, like freaking 26 with Glory. Enjoy that. Yeah, that's obviously terrific. Little irksome that it's a G-Rare that you have to get 4 copies of, but the world goes on. With this, Gears really do have a shot at being meta, so keep an eye out for them. Next up, we have Swordsman of Light Blaster Rapier Lola. She has Resist, she's a grade 1 blaster, and the continuous effect give a card named King of Knights Alfred in the same column as this unit, 1k. This would have been really fantastic if it came out Season 2 or 3, but you can't really just be using King of Knights Alfred anymore. It does give it an 11k body, so you can like use it in a use this and Alfred in a stride centric deck and get access to some Alfred support, which isn't bad, but there isn't that much Alfred support to begin with, so basically, the most helpful fact about this card is that, 1, it's a resist unit if you really feel like you were needing that, and 2, it has Blaster in the name, so you have access to more Blaster support. And I suppose there could be more Alfred support in the future. Next up, we have the biggest disappointment of the set, bar none. Destruction Deity Beast Vanagrand. G-Break 2 on attack, Soul Blast 6, Persona Flip, check the top 4, and then put those cards to either the top or bottom. So it's effectively Scry 4, so it effectively does nothing. So the math on that is that it should essentially increase your trigger count for the turn by 1. So you're Soul Blasting 6 and Persona Flipping for effectively 5k and a crit. And that's just not that great. He does have some other utilities like making draw triggers more live, or if you can get a heal trigger, you can go ahead and put it as the 4th card so you can feel free to take an attack next turn, which is interesting, but no, Genesis really needed something to be... First off, it needed something to use the massive amounts of soul they're putting in, and this only using 6 means that you're going to be soul charging way too much in a game if you want to use the new stuff. Second, they needed something that could really compete with the aggressive strides out there, the Ragna Clocks, the Phantom Blaster Diablos, the Gildares, the everything, and with Chronotech coming into the game, him too. And this just doesn't. It doesn't have any plussing power, it doesn't have any real advantage to power, and you have to depend on sacking for this to do anything at all. And that's not that good. Or else we'd all still be playing Ashura Kaiser. Okay. Next card. Dream Weaving Ranunculus Asha. Persona Flip, G-Break 2. This one is actually just as if you have 2 or more face up, but it's the same thing. Oh, no, wait. It gets the effect in 2 separate parts, doesn't it? Okay, so scratch everything I just said. Okay. Persona Flip. Choose one of your units, and if the number of units with the same name as... Okay, I'm sorry, this effect is really complex, so I'm going to have to go over it a couple... Going back. Persona Flip, get the effect to choose one card, and if the number of cards with the same name as that unit is 2 or more, everything in your front row gets 5k. Second, and then, if the number of face-up in your G-Zone is 2 or more, choose a card, clone it, give the clone 2k. So, the next thing about that is that, first off, solid +1. Very nice. And then the +5, not quite as good as Jingle Flower on the base of it, but you do have some specific advantages. Number 1, you can, because you get an axe skill, so you can choose to use it after the cloning, so that part of the skill is effectively never dead. Ow. Whereas with Jingle Flower, if you're just taking way too many retires and locks, there's a chance you're not going to be able to muster up 2 of the thing on the field. Granted, it's hard. Also, this has the advantage of being able to support decks where you need to pattern more specifically. If you need to focus on getting a specific format out, and that format doesn't have like 3 of any given unit, this does better for that. It also provides an internal little counter move to like Kagero Narukami, where you're getting all your stuff retired. Because you can clone something to get a little bit more field presence, and then still put up an aggressive front with the +5k to everything in the front row. So really, she's not bad. She covers a lot of utilities. She alone is not the sort of devastating finisher you'd need to really catapult something into the meta, but it does make it an overall more solid deck. So there's a lot to be said for that. So good on Yasha. Next up we have 3 Apple Sisters. Why am I talking about 3 Apple Sisters? Because they're adorable! G-Break 1 on boost as a 6k. G-Break 1 on boost, the boosted thing gets +2k for every other copy of 3 Apple Sisters. So effectively, it does what Sour Slicer does, but worse. I suppose I should also talk about Pia. I forgot to pull her up because I forgot about her, but I'm remembering now that there's a card called like Flowering Maiden Pia or something like that. And what she does is she gives every copy of herself 3k, up to 4 copies of herself, that is. So if you have 4 out and then Maiden of the Flower Screen, you can't give them all 3k. So she also does what they do, but she does it at the cost of returning 2 normal units to your deck. And that's a very awkward cost. Not just for removing the amount of triggers in your deck, but also for just being sort of, if you don't have that many normal units in your drop. And I mean, don't get me wrong, these kinds of costs can be helpful in a sense that, you know, go ahead and shuffle back your perfects. That helps. But having a cost like that can make it so you can't use the effect when you want to use the effect, primarily in early game, which is where Sour Slicer of the three really shines. So, but obviously you have a whole bunch of boosters there to increase your amount of choices on what you want to play to make use of the cloning effects. Have a ball. Next up we have Scissor Finger. When he boosts at G-Break 1, if all of your opponent's units are rested, the boosted unit gets plus 2k. Easy little 9k boost, helpful if you have 12k attackers, helpful if you have 7ks that you had to put in the front row to attack with. Don't use it in machinings, because then you should just be using Hornet, but other than that, nice little thing. Okay, another unit that may or may not be real, but again, going with my gut. Breaking Ripple Militidius, or something. Legion with Thundering Ripple Genovius, who, if you don't remember him, no one else does either. When he attacks, if he's in the Legion and the number of rest units in your front row is 3 or more, so him, the mate, 1 rearguard, number of rest, more, choose one of your rearguards and stand it, unflip 1, then if the number of rest in your front row is still 3 or more, draw a card. So if you have a full front row, it's a stand, an unflip, and a draw on attack. And that's definitely not bad. He doesn't have that much internal utility with his mate, because Thundering Ripple was just going to stand them all anyway. So, yeah. I mean, unflip and draw can be helpful, but you wouldn't play a whole Legion pair just to do it. Counterblast 1, when he's placed on the Vanguard, you can pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 3 for a card with Ripple in its name. So you're hoping to pull another copy of Genovius to use for the Persona Blast, but you can fetch a copy of him to stride with, or if you do want to play the Ride Chain, you can fetch a card from the Ride Chain to just have a vanilla. Yeah, there are worse things. I mean, this isn't all that impressive, but it's, you know, kind of a nice little utility, so if you want to play it, have fun. Who knows? Mythic Serpent Jormungand. When something is soul blasted at G-Break 1, he gets plus 1k. So he is basically a 15k attacker. Now, one of the big problems with Genesis is that they don't have many good rearguards. This is definitely a step in the right direction, but considering with most bosses he's basically a 12k attacker, it's sort of meh. He in like Vanagrand or Yggdrasil or Yatagarasu, he can set up some nice little power columns, but he's certainly not a match for any of the power cards from other clans. Not even a little. But it's a step in the right direction. So Genesis overall has gotten a little bit more potent, but effectively because all you sort of did was blip up as opposed to everything else, which is skyrocketing right now, you've sort of relegated yourself to bottom of the barrel status. Sorry. But you know, should still be an enjoyable deck if you liked it. Well, okay, so that was everything that stood out as notable to me this week. So, Firefang92, signing out.